Welcome to the CompTIA A+ Prepcast presented by baremetalcyber.com. Handling confidential information is a core responsibility in IT support roles. Whether it's user credentials, internal documents, or customer data, this information must be protected through secure practices and strict access controls. The A+ certification includes secure handling, storage, and disposal of sensitive materials as part of the operational procedures domain. Mishandling confidential information can lead to legal penalties, disciplinary action, or reputational damage, making this topic not only exam relevant but crucial for maintaining trust and compliance in professional environments. Confidential data includes a wide range of information types that require special protection. Personally identifiable information such as names, addresses, phone numbers, and identification numbers is considered sensitive. Other examples include financial data, login credentials, medical records, and proprietary business information. These data types may appear in documents, databases, screenshots, or even within email threads. Regardless of the format, this information demands secure handling and limited exposure to only authorized personnel. During support activities, technicians must observe strict viewing limitations. Accessing user files, folders, or email content without a valid troubleshooting need is considered a breach of privacy. Even if the files are visible, technicians should avoid opening them without first explaining the reason and asking for permission. Respecting user boundaries during diagnostics builds trust and ensures compliance with both internal policies and external privacy regulations. Printed materials containing confidential information must also be handled with care. Technicians should never leave sensitive printouts unattended, especially in public or shared areas. When not in use, these documents should be locked away in secure storage, such as filing cabinets or restricted access rooms. Disposal of printed confidential materials must be done using shredders that render the information unreadable, particularly for items containing PII or company secrets. Passwords and system credentials require especially cautious handling. Writing passwords on sticky notes or displaying them in visible areas is unacceptable and creates major security risks. Technicians should never request a user's password directly. Instead, they should guide users through password reset procedures or utilize password management systems. Tools that enforce strong password creation and storage contribute to more secure environments and help technicians maintain proper practices. Backup media and removable drives must be encrypted and stored in controlled locations. Devices like external hard drives, flash drives, or backup tapes often contain large volumes of sensitive information. These devices should be kept in locked drawers, safes, or data center cabinets, and technicians should log all access, noting who handled the media, when, and why. Without strict physical and procedural controls, backup devices can become a vulnerability. Suppose a technician opens a shared folder and finds a spreadsheet containing private human resources data. In this case, the appropriate response is to close the file immediately, notify a supervisor, and refrain from copying, editing, or distributing the contents. This ensures that the incident is handled through proper compliance channels, and a record can be created to track and investigate the exposure. Personal curiosity must never override security procedures. When communicating confidential information through email or chat, encryption should be used to protect the data in transit. Sensitive attachments must not be sent to broad recipient lists or copied to unintended parties. Before sharing any protected information, the technician must verify the identity of the recipient. Failure to follow these precautions can lead to unauthorized exposure and may violate internal communication policies or data privacy laws. File permissions and access control settings are used to enforce the principle of least privilege. This means users are only given access to the files and systems necessary for their role. Technicians must configure and maintain these settings to ensure data is not accessible to unauthorized users. Access should be reviewed regularly to detect overprivileged accounts and to revoke permissions when responsibilities change or employees leave the organization. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Secure disposal practices are necessary to ensure that confidential materials do not end up in the wrong hands. This applies to both digital and physical data. Paper documents should be shredded using cross-cut shredders, while hard drives must be wiped using secure erase tools or physically destroyed. Technicians should also remember to clear clipboard data, browser history, and temporary files that may contain sensitive information. Following documented disposal procedures, including maintaining disposal logs when required, helps organizations meet regulatory and audit requirements. Physical security measures are vital when handling devices that may contain confidential information. Workstations should be locked when unattended, and laptops must be stored securely when not in use. Using cable locks, locked rooms, and screen locking policies all contribute to protecting data from unauthorized physical access. Guests or contractors should never be allowed to roam freely in areas containing sensitive equipment. Escorting visitors and logging their presence is a common procedure in regulated environments. Badge systems and role-based access controls are frequently used to limit access to secure areas or systems. Employees use key cards or secure login credentials to access authorized zones. When an employee leaves the organization or changes roles, their access must be promptly revoked to prevent misuse. Logs of access events should be reviewed periodically to detect anomalies or unauthorized attempts. These access controls reinforce physical and logical barriers against data breaches. Confidentiality agreements are legally binding documents signed by employees during the onboarding process. These agreements formalize the employee's obligation to protect the organization's sensitive information and abide by security protocols. In regulated industries, confidentiality agreements are not optional. They are a requirement for working in environments that handle health data, financial records, or trade secrets. Violating such agreements can lead to termination or legal consequences. In cloud environments, protecting confidential data remains the responsibility of the customer, even if the infrastructure is managed by a third party. Cloud providers offer tools like encryption at rest, access logs, and user activity monitoring, but organizations must properly configure these features. Multi-factor authentication and secure API key management are essential for protecting cloud-based applications and storage. Technicians must ensure credentials are not exposed in code repositories, emails, or shared folders. Before granting access to any data or system, the technician must verify the requester's identity. This may involve requesting a badge, performing a callback to a known contact number, or verifying an internal support ID. Relying on names or job titles alone increases the risk of impersonation and social engineering attacks. Verification procedures help prevent unauthorized access, especially in remote support scenarios where in-person validation isn't possible. Screenshots and screen recording can inadvertently capture passwords, private data, or confidential communications. Unless explicitly permitted, these actions should be prohibited in support environments. Policies must clearly ban unauthorized recording, and tools should be configured to restrict such functionality on sensitive systems. If documentation is needed, technicians should use redacted screenshots or alternatives that do not reveal protected information. When a data breach is suspected or confirmed, technicians must report it immediately to a supervisor or security officer. Attempting to fix or conceal the issue may make the situation worse and hinder investigation efforts. A proper report includes what happened, when it occurred, and what steps have been taken so far. Timely reporting supports incident response teams and ensures legal and compliance requirements are met. Auditing and compliance tracking tools help monitor access to confidential files and systems. These tools log when data is viewed, changed, or transferred, and by whom. The logs can be used for internal investigations, HR actions, and formal audits. Retention policies dictate how long these records must be kept, and organizations must ensure that logs remain secure and tamper-proof. These systems provide an additional layer of accountability and transparency. To summarize, handling confidential materials in IT support requires attention to detail, respect for privacy, and adherence to policy. Technicians must limit access to sensitive data, use secure communication methods, dispose of materials properly, and report any suspected violations promptly. These practices are essential for compliance, operational security, and user trust, and they are a frequent focus on the A+ exam under Operational Procedures and Safety Policies. Thank you for listening. Please visit baremetalcyber.com for more cybersecurity information, podcasts, books, and more.